Hey, good evening. I hope my voice is audible. I hope my voice is audible. I am visible. Can anyone confirm me? Is my voice audible? Can anyone confirm me, please? So I'm sorry. I got late because there was a technical glitch. So that's why we are unable to start the session on time. But I'll not take much time. I'll just start in another 30 seconds. So all set now. Okay, so today's topic is on eCOA, which is used in clinical trials. So, how eCOA came into picture, and what is this eCOA actually called as? So, COA is your clinical outcome assessment, which we call it as electronically or electroclinical outcome assessments. How it is being used, particularly during your clinical trials, how are we going to use it? So that's something which I will be discussing. What is COA? And the second one is what are the different types of COA? So there are different types, either it is patient or observer or physician or performance. So there are different types of COAs. What is this clinical outcome assessments of different types? And the third one, stages of COA. How do you create the data points? How do you design it? How do you validate it? How do you live it? How do you collect the data? So that is the stages of COA. And the fourth one, different therapeutic areas of COA. So there are different therapeutic areas which can be used, either it is schizophrenia or cancer or for pain or for diabetes. How differently we can use the therapeutic areas for COA usage. And the next one, regulatory compliance of COA. So what are the different regulatory authorities which takes care about this COA? What are the regulations we have? What are the guidelines we have? What are the advantage of COA? What are the limitations or challenges of COA? And what is the conclusion and what is the future of COA? So these are the topics which I am going to cover it today. So basically about all about your clinical outcome assessment. How are we going to do it as clinical outcome assessment? So without any delay, what is eCOA? So the word itself will say that it's an electronic clinical outcome assessment. The most important word is outcome. The clinical outcome of the patient is being assessed by electronic system, then it is called as electronic clinical outcome assessment, which is called as eCOA. So which can be a tool where directly from the patient data you can collect the patient outcomes we can collect. Say for example, you go and ask patient that how are you feeling today, either your pain is reduced or increased. So those kind of data points from the patients, engaging the patients, using the patient's part of a clinical trial and collecting the data from the patient directly is considered as eCOA. If it is electronic, then it is electronic. If it is only COA, then it might be a paper diary or a diary which is used handwritten by the patient. So that is about your directly collecting data from the patient about the outcome of the clinical aspects is called as COA, clinical outcome assessments. Now, electronic devices such as wearables are being used, tablets are being used, computers are being used to gather all kind of information from the patients about the health outcomes and also the experimental details about your uh, clinical trials or patient related data. Outcomes can be measured by using different methods, including the scales or including the variables or including the test or including the tools. So all this together, we call it as clinical outcome assessment. So the most important point, the patient related data from the directly patient is being collected based on the clinical outcome. Then it is called as clinical outcome assessment. If it is electronic, then it is called as eCOA. So that's what you call it as. The patient related data directly coming from the patient is called as eCOA. Best example is pain scale. Say, for example, patient, we are going and asking that how was your pain from 0 to 10? Can you mark it? Then it is called as patient related scale. So that's what you call it as COA. The next part is what are the different types of COA? The first part of a COA is PRO. So which is ePro? We call it as PRO, patient reported outcome. So patient will directly report its outcome. Then it is called as ePro. So the first part is ePro, electronic patient report outcome. The second part is ClinPro, wherein electronically clinician will give the reported outcome. So patient will get a problem or patient will get data. Now clinician will go and collect the data. Then it is called as ClinRo. So which is clinically reported outcome. So electronically clinically reported outcome is called as ClinRo. which is second type of COA. The third type of COA is called as observer O. So which is called as the electronic observer reported outcome. So wherein there are three types as of now which we have discussed. One is patient reported outcome. The second one is clinician reported outcome. The third one is observer reported outcome, wherein observer will report it or the patient relative will go and collect the data and report these details. Last one is performance outcome, which is electronic performance outcome. We call it as PERFO, whereas performance reported outcome is being calculated or taken into consideration. So types of pros or types of COAs are four. First is patient related information, patient reported outcome. Second one is the clinician reported outcome. The third one is observer reported outcome. The fourth one is performance reported outcome. Now, what are the stages? How do you prepare a pro or how do you prepare a COA? So the first one, you design it. You design a tool or application or database or app or data points. So you decide the device, data points, languages, how they can collect the data from the patients. The first one. Second one, you develop an app. You develop or design a customize an application. So that is what you call it as designing and customization, which is the second one. The third one, you conduct a validation of this, which is called as UAT or pilot testing, whether this tool is correctly accepting the data or not. The fourth one is deploy and give the trainings to the patients. So 4 steps. First one, designing, developing, validating, and deploying is called as stages of eCOA, which is clinical outcome assessment. And next one, most important one, what are the different therapeutic areas we can use? So first therapeutic area, as already have said, that oncology. You can use in oncology the different kinds of scales we are using, quality of life or the pain scales or the side effects, because most of cancer drugs are having pain. So how do you accept the pain or quality of life is something which you take it in oncology trials. The second one, neurology trials. Most of neurology trials, which are Parkinson's disease or Alzheimer's disease or multiple sclerosis or conjunctive functions, all this kind of a diseases will have memory kind of a things wherein you have to bring on the scales, how you can make the patients to answer this kind of a questions by using clinical outcome assessments. We will do it. And cardiology, like breathlessness or fatigue or physical activity, how much physical activity was there, 0 to 10 market, 1 to 10 market, like that cardiology also will give. And we can give psychiatry and mental health, most importantly psychiatry and mental health, that how depression you have, like say for example from 0 to 10, can you mark how was your depression, how was your anxiety, how was your schizophrenia and psychiatric condition. Patient will give clinical outcomes and we will collect that data and we will analyze that data and we will report that data for the submissions. And rheumatology, which is most importantly pain levels, pain levels, joint stiffness or performing daily activities, how many steps you are able to walk, 10 steps, 20 steps or 30 steps, like that we have to tell. So now therapeutic area, we have discussed about oncology, cardiology, respiratory, psychiatry and rheumatology or pain or psychiatric kind of a diseases we can take. Now regulatory compliance. So different therapeutic area we discussed, what are the regulatory compliance we have to have. The first one, 21 CFR part 11, so which is electronic signatures and electronic documents. Second one, USFDA and EMA regulations. Third one, GDPR, which is data protection regulations. And fourth one, HIPAA regulations. So all these 4 regulations have to be taken into consideration when you are developing a system, which is clinical outcome assessment, which is electronic copy or electronic system. So now next one is, what are the advantage of COAs? What are the benefit of COAs? Now patient engagement has increased. You reduce the missing data. The centralized data monitoring can be done. Capture real-time information what patient is giving. Higher patient satisfaction. Accuracy and reportability of patient reported outcome can be done. So patient feels like he is a part of a clinical trial and he can give a data to directly to the patient. And shorter duration of time. And next one, we have limitations. So the first limitation is technical challenges. There are so much of technical challenge. And the second one is you need to have connectivity and internet. So, and the fourth one is digital literacy. Not everyone is knowing about the technology or the systems. Digital literacy is more important. Privacy and security is one more important aspect. And incomplete data points is one more important. And ongoing software development and maintenance of software is also one of the challenge. So these are the challenges and limitations of COA. So now together, if we frame everything in conclusion, the electronic clinical outcome assessment has significantly transformed the new clinical trials which are conducted by enhancing the data accuracy, improving patient engagement and enabling the real-time data collection on the patients, wherein this data can be used for a statistical analysis and also submitting this data to the regulatory authorities to get an approval immediately. So eCOA has streamlined assessment process and also reduced the risk of data entry errors and allowed more precise and comprehensive data analysis. Now, what might be the future? What might be the future if we continue using the COAs or clinical outcome assessments? It becomes an integral component of clinical trials, wherein more innovations, more efficiency, and also patient centricity will come into clinical trials. The patient will feel like he is a part of a clinical trial and he will evolve giving more information of the patient details. As technology continues, the COA undoubtedly contribute more effectively, and it can streamline the clinical research process, wherein it can lead to patient outcome and faster development of the new therapies. So you reduce the time, you improve the quality, and also you bring the new molecules as soon as possible. So now today's topic, I have discussed what is COA and what are the different types of COA, what are the different stages of COA, what are the therapeutic areas like cancer or oncology or cardiovascular, respiratory, psychiatry, and pain. So regulatory compliance including 21 CFR Part 11, US FDA, EMA regulations, and GDPR, and also HIPAA regulations, which is for the safety and security and privacy. And what are the advantage? Patient centricity, more of data collections, patient feel like that he's a part of a clinical trial. What are the limitations? The data literacy or internet or the education level of the subjects, all those things will be limitations. Together, in conclusion, we can bring the molecules very quickly if we use the clinical outcome assessment as soon as possible. So this is about today's live program. I'm open for questions. If any kind of questions are there, I'm open. I have discussed about clinical outcome assessments and how it can be used for particularly in patient related information. So I'm open for questions. Anyone have any questions, you can post it. Then I'll be able to answer. So my team is looking at the YouTube live. So I hope today's session was very good. We have discussed about what is COA and types of COA and stages of COA, what are the advantage, what are the therapeutic area, what is the challenges, what is the conclusion, what is the future of COA, and how COA can modify our clinical trials. So COA has given so much of advantage for conduct of clinical trials. So now I'm open for questions. Anyone have any kind of questions, you can put it on the chat box. I'll be able to answer any kind of questions. I hope today's session was useful and everyone enjoyed today's session. And really sorry for joining late because of there was technical glitch where we were not able to join. So uses of COA, the best use is you collect the data directly from the patient and you can submit this data statistical analysis and you can get very quick approval from COA. So say for example, earlier we don't used to have a pain assessments, but now we have a pain scales where patient outcome will be given. Directly patient will give outcome and it can be used. So different therapeutic area it can be used. So either it is oncology or cardiovascular, respiratory or pain, or you can use for psychiatric disease also. Yeah. Any other questions? So uses of COA, I have answered it. Any other questions anyone have, you can ask. I hope the session was useful. And tomorrow I have LinkedIn Live. Please do join us for LinkedIn Live at 6 p.m. for tomorrow. So if no questions, thank you so much for joining today and have a nice, wonderful weekend. Thank you so much.